Imagine a scenario. A crime has occurred, and the traditional question posed by the justice system is often, what law was broken, and how should we punish the offender? But what if we asked a different set of questions? What if we started with, who was harmed? What are their needs? And whose obligations are these? This shift in perspective is at the heart of what we call restorative justice. For too long, our focus in criminal justice has predominantly been on punishment, on isolating the offender, and on upholding the letter of the law. While these elements have their place, they often leave victims feeling unheard, offenders unequipped for reintegration, and communities fractured. Restorative justice offers an alternative, a complementary path that seeks to mend what's broken, rather than just punishing the brokenness. At its core, restorative justice views crime not just as a violation of the law, but fundamentally as a violation of people and relationships. It's a philosophy built on principles of encounter, repair, and transformation, aiming for the well-being of all parties involved. This isn't a newfangled idea. Its roots can be traced back to indigenous justice practices from around the world. In its modern Western form, pioneering figures like Howard Zehr, often credited as a foundational figure, significantly shaped this approach, drawing connections to concepts like the Hebrew shalom, meaning making things right. So why is this approach gaining so much traction today? The answer lies in a growing body of evidence demonstrating its effectiveness and a compelling economic argument. The primary goals are clear: to empower victims, encourage genuine offender accountability, and facilitate the healing and reintegration of both victims and offenders back into the community. Let's look at some of the key outcomes. Perhaps the most frequently discussed is its impact on reducing reoffending rates, also known as recidivism. While traditional justice often sees offenders return to crime, studies suggest restorative justice can lead to a modest but statistically significant reduction. Meta-analyses, which combine results from many studies, typically report an average reduction between 10 to 14% compared to conventional methods. Some individual studies have even shown reductions as high as 25%. This isn't a magic bullet, but it's a meaningful improvement in breaking cycles of crime. Beyond preventing future crime, restorative justice shines in its impact on victims. Victims consistently report higher satisfaction with the justice process when restorative practices are used. Think about it. Instead of being a sideline observer in a courtroom, victims have a voice. They can ask questions, express their feelings, and actively participate in determining what repair looks like. This engagement can also lead to a reduction in post-traumatic stress symptoms for victims, helping them move forward in their healing journey. For offenders, it emphasizes personal accountability and the development of empathy. It moves beyond simply serving a sentence to truly understand the harm they've caused and taking steps to repair it. This process provides offenders with tools and support crucial for successful reintegration into society, breaking cycles that often perpetuate criminal behavior. And from a broader societal perspective, there's a strong economic case. Analysis, particularly in the UK, indicates that the savings generated by reduced reoffending, fewer crimes, fewer court cases, less incarceration, often significantly outweigh the initial costs of implementing restorative interventions.
Now, how does this actually play out in practice? There are several key models. The most direct is Victim-Offender Mediation, or VOM, where victims and offenders meet face-to-face, facilitated by a trained mediator. Then there's family group conferencing, which brings together victims, offenders, and their wider support networks, family, friends, and sometimes even police or social workers, to discuss the harm and plan for repair. Circles, or circle sentencing, are even broader, involving victims, offenders, and community representatives in a shared decision-making process. Finally, victim impact panels allow crime victims, sometimes surrogate victims, to share the real-world impact of crime with offenders, fostering understanding and empathy. This is not a fringe movement. Major entities are involved in its development and research, from academic institutions like Harvard Law School to governmental bodies like the UK's Ministry of Justice and the US Office of Juvenile Justice and Delinquency Prevention. Advocacy groups like the Restorative Justice Council and victim support are also crucial players, showing a broad base of interest and commitment to refining and implementing these practices. However, like any evolving approach, restorative justice isn't without its complexities and debates. It's crucial to examine these openly and honestly, to understand its true potential and limitations. One of the most significant contentions revolves around its suitability for serious offenses. Can restorative justice truly address crimes like murder, sexual assault, or domestic violence? Critics understandably worry about the potential for re-traumatization for victims, especially in cases where power imbalances are inherent, such as domestic violence. There's a valid concern that offender participation in such sensitive cases might be manipulative, further harming victims. Another key debate concerns offender sincerity and accountability. How can we be sure an offender's remorse is genuine? Is there a risk that some offenders might participate simply to avoid stricter penalties, making an insincere apology that could be more damaging to the victim than no apology at all? These are critical questions that skilled facilitators must navigate with great care. While participation is always voluntary for all parties, concerns about power imbalances persist. Dynamics based on gender, race, social status, or even prior relationships between individuals could potentially undermine the fairness and effectiveness of the process, even with the best intentions. And then there's the ongoing discussion about the robustness of the evidence itself. While many positive effects are reported, some researchers raise concerns about the methodological rigor of certain studies. Meta-analyses, for instance, sometimes suggest that studies with stronger designs, such as randomized controlled trials, show smaller effects. Self-selection bias is a recognized issue. Perhaps those willing to participate are already more amenable to positive change. Also, the effectiveness of indirect restorative justice, where victims and offenders don't meet face-to-face, appears less conclusive for reoffending rates compared to direct conferencing. There's also a debate about whether restorative justice plays an undue burden on victims to participate in offender rehabilitation. Is it fair to expect a victim to engage in a process that, while potentially healing for them, also serves the offender's journey? This is a highly personal decision, and the process must always prioritize the victim's autonomy and well-being.
So, where does this leave us? The evidence, on balance, largely supports restorative justice as an effective approach. It offers significant improvements in victim satisfaction, empowers individuals to engage with the justice process in a meaningful way, and, particularly through direct conferencing, contributes to modest but important reductions in reoffending. It's not a panacea, nor is it meant to replace the entire justice system. Instead, it serves as a powerful complement, especially when applied thoughtfully and with careful consideration for the unique circumstances of each case. Its future lies in continued debate, ongoing inquiry, and refining its application, especially in more serious criminal cases, while constantly improving research methodologies to provide even more robust evidence. Ultimately, restorative justice reminds us that justice is not just about rules and retribution, but about relationships, healing, and the fundamental human need to make things right. It asks us to look beyond the immediate act of harm and consider the ripple effects, inviting us all to participate in the difficult but deeply human work of repair.